Hi, welcome to One Word Today. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We are going to continue this special segment, taking off or jumping off the recent event. Actually, it happened a month ago. Of a group of Chinese students in UK white painted the whole wall in white, and then put Chinese 12 essential values upheld by the current CCP, put it over there, put it out there. And today we're going to talk about 自由, which is this character over there. Okay, so 自由, translated as liberty or freedom. I actually ended up checking like what's the difference between liberty and freedom, even for native speakers. Like, can you tell what's the difference? A lot of times we use language without being really thinking about the language, right? That's me. Same thing like 自由. When I think about 自由, I'm like, okay, that means you're free. You're very free. You're free to do what you want. But as I, grown into adult, understand the social, political context of my environment, that's not exactly as what my child mind to think about freedom. Okay, 自由 made up of 自, self, and 由 I translate it as author. I'm going to explain. Okay, 自 made up of this nose bridge and two horizontal lines, which are stacked up nostrils. They stack up to save space. Because imagine this and drawn two lines up there, not one visually not really appealing, and two, it can be confusing with other characters. So the stacking up, but still it means you have two nostrils under the nose bridge. So basically it's a small portion in the center of a face, and then this outline shows the frame of your face, right? The frame of a face with the center of face in the middle, and that eventually this nose in the center of your face used to mean self-referral. And I guess Chinese in that sense have this self-awareness by simply having this character. It's finger pointing back to oneself. Okay, so it's a self pointing toward the nose. Okay, 有. It's a little bit complicated. There are different ways of explaining what 有 is about. But you can see there is, in the language, scholars who study the language cannot even, we cannot find a recording of somewhere in the middle of the history, like in the evolution of history, hundreds of years ago, any scholar go through the ancient Chinese language, and when they summarize like what Chinese characters about, they didn't even include this word, which to me is an important word, because we talk about self-authoring here. So now, going way back when the language just started, and this is the original depicting. So this is a later scholar summarizing, and you can see things are kind of standardized. It lost its raw edges, but this is in its raw form. It could be something chiseled into a metal piece or the turtle shell in its natural form. Therefore, you can see the edges are not even, right? So this early depiction of you have this mouse symbol, and the Chinese, nose pointing means self, but the mouse symbol Chinese use to sometimes use it to refer to a person who eat, a person who speak. So someone who is both a consumer and a producer, like producer of their opinions, right? They can feed back to the system. So that's a symbol of a person, an active mind, right? And then I'm not exactly sure what that shape is. It looks like a fire symbol coming from the mouse. So that I would imagine it as kind of like a light bulb lightning in a contemporary culture. We often use that as a symbol to capture, oh, something went off my mind. Like I connect some dots, right? That moment of all of a sudden gaining new understanding. So this could be that. It's little sparkle of fire, of new ideas coming from this individual. Because, hey, as somebody who grew up in a language, right? We all grew up in a mother tongue. We were educated in a certain way, learned certain words. All of that are shaping how we think about the world, right? And that, even if we may think it is our own thoughts, a lot of times it's not our own thoughts. And so when you actually have that spark in the mind to make some dot connection, which is not told, you're not told so, and you making that unique connection of things, that's the moment you kind of escaped the gravity of the language or the culture a little bit by having that tiny little spark of you're generating your own insights, you're understanding things new, making your own connections. So that's what I would imagine, this kind of fire looking thing, this, light up, this sparkle. And in brain science in today, like what people like to explain things from the brain, how the brain works, this could be that, synapses connection, that firing, that electricity going through the brain to make such connection. And that's like independent thinking. Okay, so 自由, and when 由 means a person, independent thinking, that, well, it means independent thinking. It also means that you can kind of wayfinding, right? You find your pathway. And I know in Christianity, things like to be explained, like you already have your script. You just need to find out a script and carry it out. I guess agency was a little bit over there, but here in Chinese character, I like to compare this you with Dao, because Dao is the way the universe works. And the you is more like, okay, universe is like too big a thing to understand how a universe works, right? But you is like to understand actually how you yourself works. I mean, that's not an easy task either. But then kind of, once you realize, first you have this self-awareness, you're individual. And then you understand, you have that independent thinking, start to have sparkles of your own thoughts generated. And then the next stage will be, you're going to, how your own thoughts are generated, and thinking, you can start to have that critical thinking thing. And then you can start to author your own life, find your own path. Then this you, the next derived meaning would be this pathway. So if the Tao is the universe way, and you try to find the universe way, you definitely want to align the universe's way with your individual's pathway. And this you is this individual pathway finding thing. So 自由, it's your self navigation, almost like you're navigating through life on your own thinking, on your own terms almost. So that's the translation of 自由. And when Google Translate, of course, it's the Chinese and then translated into liberty. So I guess 自由 translated as liberty was because this concept of 自由 was oftentimes used in a political context of this individual rights. And then when it comes to the English context, that's more likely to mean liberty, right? The delineation of individual rights, Bill of Rights. And in Chinese, when I look at 自由, it's almost like a freedom. freedom of to come up with your own thoughts, to making your own decisions, choosing your own path, right? All that is what 自由 represent to me. And the first thing come to my mind when I try to find a visual illustration of what 自由 of the sense of 自由 is the Mel Gibson's performance before he was executed in the Braveheart. I think that's the movie, The Braveheart. He was the leader of the rebellion force, and he was finally captured and executed. And the last word from him before his death is, this shout out of freedom, right? It's a very man thing. It's a very touching moment. It's not just a man thing, it's a human thing, because that's all we seek as well. So in the legal framework, in America's lingo, it's liberty. But in this rebellion depiction in that movie, it's oppression and of another race, even if they're not looking different. I mean, Scottish and the UK, probably the British people would know way better. I mean, I'm looking from afar as if they're not that much difference, but I can imagine it's at least two different cultures and two tribes, right? One want to control another, of course, would be rebellious. And that sense of freedom of choose your own destiny, right? Not to be enslaved or become the second-rate citizen of another race. So that's the freedom, the sense of freedom out there. And so that's my initial thought of what 自由 is about. It's not being oppressed by an external race, country, or military culture. That's 自由, but it also probably in our contemporary sense of, instead of this nationwide or culture-wide oppression, colonization, all that, it's also individual, like individual against the government, like what's your boundary, what you have the right to. So that's probably more applicable to today's world. So that's 自由 liberty. Okay, cash into the currency of thinking by one word a day with Sophie. See you another.